All right, good evening, folks, or actually good morning, good afternoon. I guess it just depends on where you're joining us from. Was just taking a look at the registrations. We got folks from Australia up to the Great White North. There's a lot of folks over in Europe, Asia. Welcome aboard, ladies and gentlemen. Extremely fired up. We do full throttle about 4 times a year, and it is that time of the year. So welcome aboard. Going to have a great time tonight. Let me cover some administrative items real quick. Make sure that you all are signed up for my daily, it's called SITREP or Situation Report, to use some military ease. Send it out every day, sometimes before market open, sometimes in the middle of the day, sometimes after market close. It just depends. Let me put this link in the chat box. It's a free daily video, what I'm looking at in the market on a day-to-day basis. So even if you don't become a member this week, you can still get some great intel on a daily basis via the SITREP. It's about a 10 to 15-minute video, and it's definitely worth its weight in gold. So put the link in the chat box. It's go.topgunoptions.com/SITREP. Okay. Next administrative item that I want to share is the replay page. So before you even have to ask, yep, everything's recorded. This is recorded tonight. Everything we do this week is going to be recorded and put on this replay page. And this is pretty easy to remember. Go.topgunoptions.com/FT replay, and that stands for full throttle replay. So I kind of left some placeholders on here from the last full throttle we did. I think it was back in July. So the replay from tonight, tomorrow, everything through Friday is going to be on this page. So about 85% of our current members work. Most of them just watch the replay at night or over the weekend when they get a chance. So you're not going to be missing anything. Everything's recorded and will be put on this replay page. The link that you use to get in here tonight is going to work all week, so you don't have to re-sign up or anything. If you're listening to me right now, you registered and you're good to go for the entire week. So it's the same link all week. And finally, we're in what's called GoToWebinar. If you look at the if you're in full screen mode, you won't see this, but if you're not in full screen mode, at the top of the window that you're looking at the screen in, there's a little camera icon. So if instead of scribbling notes and thinking you're missing something, just click that little camera icon and it'll take a shot of what's on the screen so you can take a look at it later. You're going to want to take a lot of those screenshots throughout the week. Okay. Let's review the flight schedule for the week. Obviously, right now it's 9 p.m., 2100 East Coast of the United States of America. We're doing our welcome aboard brief tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock. We're going to do our primary live trade brief. In that portfolio, we trade the front months, we trade some leaps, we hedge. Going to be a great time. Wednesday afternoon, we're going to do accelerated retirement, more conservative portfolio as the name would imply, and that's when we're going to open our 50 annual slots. We're going to start with the motivated folks who want to grab an annual membership. We're going to open up the doors Wednesday. And this is what's incredible, folks, is as I said in many of my sit reps recently, I've limited this access to 1,000 people. Usually we get 5,000 to 6,000 people registered for this. And it kind of takes away from the quality because I can see in the chat box over here hundreds of questions flying by, and it's just it's a little distracting. So we limited that, and then we're sticking with our 50 annual slots, so we'll open them at AR, Accelerated Retirement, on Wednesday. Wednesday night, I'm going to do some vertical spread training. So when you become a full throttle member here at Top Gun Options, you're going to get access to 8 live training sessions from everything starting with, hey, this is the market, this is a call, this is a put, all the way up to advanced tactics like iron condors or bearish double verticals or all that type of stuff. So we'll do that, a sample of what that training will be Wednesday night. Thursday afternoon is kind of when I do our weekly debrief, and I kind of look at all the trades that we have across the portfolios. If you notice, what's missing is a Friday. Usually I do all my coaching on Friday. I do one-on-one coaching with folks, but this Friday, we're actually going to knock out our weekly options brief, okay? If we do not get full, usually we do. Usually we get 50 annual members. If we don't, stick around to Friday because I'll open up, sometimes we get like 42 and I'll open up like 8 slots to folks who want to do month to month. So make sure you hang out through Friday, okay? Take a screenshot of that. you're going to get an email before all these briefs start with the link, or you can just save the link that you used to get in here tonight. Okay, folks, let's get airborne. Welcome aboard. My promise to you is by the end of our Full Throttle week on Friday, I'm going to show you how the fourth quarter can be your most profitable quarter ever. And I'm going to teach you our proprietary trading methodology and risk management process. Folks, it's all about managing risk. You ready for this blinding piece of brilliance? You can't make money if you're losing money. I know that was worth the price of admission right there, but that's going to sink in as we go throughout the week. Make sure you come. I think I'll do it Wednesday night or maybe Wednesday afternoon, accelerated retirement. I'm going to teach you a top secret tactic that you're only going to see here at Top Gun Options. It's called a trudge. Now, when you place a trade, any trade, what do you want to do? Okay, dude, make money. You got it. When you place a hedge, what do you want to do? Well, you hope that loses money, right? Well, I'm going to show you a tactic that can serve as both. It's a high probability trade, but also serves as a hedge in case this market implodes and volatility spikes. I just kind of squeeze those two words together, a trade and a hedge. It's called a trudge. You're going to want to see that, folks, because we are getting ready to implode. This October, we're already in it, man. It's going to be extremely volatile. We have potential war in the Middle East with Iran, China, Hong Kong crackdown, the faux trade deal that we have going on, and we have earnings coming up. Oh, and by the way, a Fed meeting next week. It is going to be a clown car for the rest of October, and you definitely want to trudge. Ladies and gentlemen, trading at its most basic level is a form of combat. There's a winner and there's a loser. And I plan on being on the right side of that trade here at Top Gun Options. Who said that? You are going to say that by Friday. Okay, so tonight, what are we going to do? This is our welcome aboard brief. It's about an hour and 15 minutes. I'm going to talk about our epic third quarter performance. Absolutely lights out trading here at Top Gun Options. I've been doing this for 27 years. Did the numbers. My best quarter in 27 years since I was a young ensign in the Navy, buying my first mutual fund through USAA. I'm going to talk about who I am and the history of Top Gun Options. And then at the end, we're going to go through our 7-step trade plan. Okay, many of you, this is where's the price of admission right here. Take a look over on the right side, like in this control panel, it says handouts over there. You see it says handouts 1 of 5. Go ahead and click on that and download our 7-step trade plan. You got a copy of the long one when you opted in to Full Throttle. This one is a nice 1-pager. It's a quick reference guide. The reason I'm going to go through this trade plan tonight is because during the week, during the live trade briefs, I want to focus on what? The trading. I don't want to sit here and have to do the academic training. So that's why we're in here tonight. What's missing from the brief tonight? Trades. This is why we do this welcome aboard brief at night. I used to do it during the day, and people who are clueless would come in and go, I don't want to hear any of this stuff. Where are your trades? And I'd throw them out of the room. Those are very tactical traders. It's not how we trade here at Top Gun Options. So tonight, it's going to be background. 1300, 1 o'clock Eastern tomorrow, we're going to get airborne in the primary brief. So here we go. Do me a favor, silence your electronic nicotine, no distractions, close the door, and let's go heads down here because full hour, if you don't feel like you're drinking from a fire hose this week during Full Throttle training, I'm failing. Okay, so you should feel like you're drinking from that fire hose. To begin with, first of all, I don't even know who you are yet, right? But why should you listen to me? We're going on our 10th year, November. Yeah, end of November, beginning of December is our 10th anniversary here at Top Gun Options, nearly $4 million profit in 10 years. That was starting with $25,000. Over an 80% average annual return. And that's in all market conditions, folks. And to be honest with you, and I'm going to show you our Q3, I like, as an options trader, it's a target-rich environment, man, with this volatility. The third quarter, when things are going crazy, we're printing money. All market conditions with limited drawdowns, very, very limited drawdowns. Like I said, the best quarter in my 27 years of trading. How did you guys make out? Look at this volatility, man. Fed meeting, implosion, trade war. Okay, maybe we're going to talk in October. Yeah, we're going to meet, Fed meeting, implosion. Here we go. Absolutely lights out trading in the third quarter. And I'll show you the majority of what we focused on. And it's been a blast. 92% win rate. That means 92% of the trades that we covered didn't get filled on all of them, but all the ones we covered, 92% of them, max profit or some profit. Absolute insanity. So if your 401k looked like a 201k after this, that looks like a nightmare if you don't know what you're doing. To us, it was absolutely epic. Take a look at this is our primary portfolio. You're going to see this tomorrow. Look at how much money we made trading volatility. So using VXX and VIX, it's about 23 grand in the third quarter, just trading volatility. Absolutely phenomenal. Love trading volatility. I'm going to teach you how to do that. You better be getting long volatility right now, folks. Throughout the week, I'm going to give you some what I call whizisms, right? And one of them is when volatility is cheap, you buy it. When volatility is expensive, you sell it. Right now, with all the madness that's going on in everywhere, it seems like vol has come in and is super cheap. Need to get long vol. We're going to talk about that tomorrow in the live trade brief. We've also trading lights out in the S&P 500. Absolute target rich environment, trading the S&P 500 using SPX and SPY. What's that, about 20? It's about 27 grand in the third quarter, just trading the S&P 500. SPX is what we usually like to trade. I think those were some disaster puts that I bought, but absolutely had a blast in the third quarter trading the S&P 500. And then in our more conservative portfolio, we're trading emerging markets. Look at this, China and Brazil, using the EWZ, that's the iShares Brazil ETF, and FXI, that's the iShares China ETF. I'm going to show you all this stuff. We actually put on a bearish weekly options trade this afternoon at 1 o'clock, which I'll also show you tomorrow. So like I said, absolutely epic third quarter. And here's a quick intelligence report, folks. And this might sound obvious, but it often isn't. No one cares more about your money than you. It cracks me up sometimes. People, I don't learn options. My brother-in-law manages my money. I'm like, he does not care about what? That's my. It's the fact. It's an absolute fact, ladies and gentlemen. So if nobody cares more about your money than you, then learn how to do it. This isn't rocket surgery, folks. I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, man. Political science major, taught myself how to trade options before Al Gore invented the internet. This is not hard. It is incredibly easy. Who am I? Finally, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Matthew Buckley. My call sign is Whiz. Last time I checked in with my parents, they loved me, so they didn't name me Whiz. I earned that call sign, flying the FA-18 Hornet for the United States Navy for about 15 years. Graduated from the Navy Fighter Weapons School, which many of you know as Top Gun, and was also an adversary pilot. So I was the bad guy. Got to do some pretty cool stuff when I was on active duty. I got to fly in a bad guy jet over Pakistan. Got to fly with my buddy on the Blue Angels when he was the opposing solo. I was also a landing signal officer. So that guy with the squared away haircut right there, that's me. When I wasn't flying, I'd be on the back of the aircraft carrier day or night, helping my buddies get aboard the ship safely. And I also did 2 combat deployments on the USS Abraham Lincoln and the Kitty Hawk, and did 44 combat sorties over Iraq. I wanted to tell you that's me leaving. So if you haven't seen the Persian Gulf up and close and personal, you ready for this? Iraq, Iran, Kuwait. It really is like a lake, folks. There's the aircraft carrier out here sitting in the middle of this lake. Have a lot of experience in this region. I was stationed in Saudi Arabia for months as the mobile targeting officer. I visited about 12 of these countries in the region. I know a lot of what's going on in the area, and it's not good. One of the added benefits, besides having a pretty big Rolodex in Chicago, London, Hong Kong, New York, is my military connections, folks. I just went to my buddy's retirement, who was the naval attaché in Russia when they invaded Ukraine. And then mysteriously, I call him Black Cloud. Mysteriously, he was also the naval attaché in Turkey when they tried to overthrow Erdogan. And unless you've been on the other side of Mars, you know that we're having a massive problem with Turkey right now. The vice president, along with Secretary Mnuchin, I think they're literally left the White House, getting on an airplane and heading over there because it is an absolute shit show. So know a lot about the region, and it definitely helps me trade. We break a lot of stuff that a lot of folks could only dream about them knowing. I never disclose my buddies or who my sources are, but added benefit. So how'd I go from essentially the cockpit to the trading pit? Like I said, one of 6 lower middle class kids, Irish Catholic kids, born and raised in South Jersey. Always taught service above self. Always wanted to serve my country. Grew up on the beach at the Jersey Shore, the real Jersey Shore, not the MTV one. Always loved aviation. Loved the sea, and it was like a Reese's peanut butter cup. Knew I wanted to be a Navy fighter pilot before that movie ever came out. But I was always interested in finance, right? You don't join the Navy to become rich, right? You join the Navy to serve your country. But I'm always interested in finance. And as a young naval officer, I applied everything that I was learning flying a fighter aircraft to my trading. Discipline, managing risk, contingency planning, right? Asking what could go wrong during this mission that we can talk about during the brief instead of freaking out when something goes wrong. Knowing when to get out of a bad or good situation before it gets worse. I applied that to my trading and it worked incredibly well, right? How did this come about though? Unfortunately, the main genesis of why I'm talking to you tonight was as a result of a tragedy. On the morning of September 11th, 2001, I was getting ready for my first flight as a pilot for American Airlines, living in Fort Worth, Texas, because I got selected after I left active duty. I got picked up to fly F-18s for the Naval Reserve out of Naval Air Station Fort Worth. Got picked up to fly for American Airlines. That was the lottery ticket, man. That was the thing to have in 2000. Airline pilot, fighter pilot on the weekends. Doesn't get any better than that, folks. Wife at the time came in and said, hey, you better come take a look at the TV. Somebody hit the World Trade Center. I said, yeah, whatever. I got to pack, whatever. She's like, no. I'm like, probably small airplane, bad weather. She said, no, come take a look. So went out in the living room, saw what you guys saw. Beautiful day in New York City, massive smoking hole. And as I was standing there in the living room going through my mental aviation checklist of how this happened, the second airplane hit. Immediately knew we were under attack. My American Airlines uniform is still sitting in that closet over there in the plastic. I keep it as a reminder because I ran in the bedroom, moved that out of the way, threw on my flight suit, and I broke the land speed record getting out to Naval Air Station Fort Worth just as they went to a combat posture and closed the air station. Wouldn't let anybody else on board. I made it out there with a squadron mate. We told the maintenance chiefs to ready the aircraft, get them ready for combat, and ran next door to meet with the TANG, the Texas Air National Guard, the F-16 guys next door. I think 4 of their guys made it out there, and we were in their KAOC, right? We were briefing to get airborne and fly combat air patrol. Navy guys, Air Force guys, when the Pentagon got hit. Absolutely incredibly surreal day. So I went from potentially flying in an airliner that day to shooting one down, to maybe even shooting down a squadron mate. Most of my buddies were flying that day. Imagine being ordered to shoot down an airliner full of you, let alone your, one of your best friends. A couple days later, I actually launched on alert and I made national news. I forced an airplane to land down near Bush's ranch because there's an airborne White House down there. So guess what happened? As one of the most junior pilots at American Airlines, guess who got clipped in the blink of an eye? I got furloughed, right? Which is polite airline terminology for laid off. So in the blink of an eye, I lost everything. Dream job, airline pilot, going to the Caribbean, for layovers of Conga line, and, gone. Blink of an eye. No health care, no nothing. So I had to get pretty resourceful pretty quick, thankfully, or I guess I shouldn't say thankfully, but our squadron got mobilized for Operation Iraqi Freedom. So I more or less became a reserve bum. I just full-timed in the reserves. But here's what I did on the side. Time to get serious, man. Up until this point, my trading was kind of a hobby, and hey, man, I'm making money. This is awesome, but it's not my primary job. Well, it turned into that. My returns were so good that I popped up on the radar of one of the largest options trading firms in the world, headquartered right here in the Chicago Board of Trade. That's intersection of Jackson and LaSalle. It's a beautiful building, right? That's our trade floor right there. All those big vertical windows. When I was there, I helped build a hedge fund. Helped build the retail brokerage options house, which is now E-Trade, and just had an absolute blast. I was the managing director of strategy of this multi-billion-dollar firm, and I was also the founder and CEO of the Options News Network, ONN.TV. Many of you, if you were familiar at the time, it was about 3 years. We were essentially the CNBC for options, man. Gave retail traders just like you a behind-the-scenes look at what was going on. I mean, I know John and Pete Najarian, if you guys watch CNBC, they kind of pay lip service to options. CNBC kind of gives a little wink and a nod to options, but we were 24/7, man, and had an absolute blast. And I'd be lying to you if I didn't tell you I felt like Valentine in Trading Places. Little old retail trader me, going up against the smart money. Well, guess what I found out? Smart money ain't that smart, man. They put their skirts, their pants on one leg at a time, just like we do. And it was kind of interesting to me when if I'm one of the smartest guys in the room, we're not that smart. So had an absolute blast, but no offense. Anybody here from Chicago? Let me take a look at our yeah. Okay. So no offense. Love Chicago. Love the Midwest. Love the people, the food, the wine. But 9 months out of the year, it's a survival situation. Walking from the Natalia, Scott, Steve, 9 months out of the year, it's a survival situation. Walking from the Board of Trade to the train station, it's you're stepping over dead bodies and stealing scarves. So I packed up my young squadron at the time, and we moved down here to South Florida. It is brutal. In my spare time, I guess you could say, I do keynotes, motivational speaking. Wrote a book, From Sea Level to Sea Level, kind of chronicling going from the cockpit to essentially the sea level office of that trading firm. So packed up. That's before we moved from Chicago down here to South Florida. It's a very old picture. This kid's 19. He's at Norwich University in Vermont in the Corps Cadets. Wants to fly for the Marine Corps. Jack, who looks like he's got the devil in him, wants to go to the Naval Academy and fly fighter jets for the Navy. And Keely's 11, going on 29, and she's not allowed to leave the house until I pass away. Okay, so let's go ahead and get airborne. That's out of the way. So for the rest of the week, you don't need to hear about me, my background, or anything like that. I gave it to you. Now you know where I came from. So enough about me. Even though I'm a fighter pilot, I don't like talking about me. I like talking about the trading and what's on the flight schedule and how we're going to potentially profit. Folks, Q4 is going to be insane. I'm going to tell you right now, I predicted this a month ago, and it's starting to come to fruition. The president's going to have to choose. Did everybody see what Xi Jinping, what a nice guy. And I'm being facetious. I sound like the president. Hey, Xi. Xi Jinping warns attempts to divide country will end in crushed bodies and shattered bones. So when I say the president's going to have to choose, ladies and gentlemen, President Xi Jinping is playing this thing fantastically. They will offer the president a deal. Hey, man, we'll sign a trade deal with you. Matter of fact, we'll do it right around election. Get you reelected. And at the same time, they're going to steamroll into Hong Kong and go Tiananmen Square and crush the protests. What's the president going to choose? Let me ask you guys. Here's the interactive port. When it comes down to a trade deal or supporting pro-democracy protesters in Hong Kong, what does the president do? Let me see. Answer in the chat box. Let me feel what you guys have, because I tell you what Natalia, trade. Brian, trade. Wow, that's scary. Nothing. Lip service to freedom. Hong Kong, trade, take the deal. Wow, we got a lot of cynics in this room. This is showing the money, plausible deniability. All right, so we got a lot of opinions, but this is going to get interesting, right? Because the president this phase one, we're going to talk about this tomorrow in the primary live trade brief, but what happened on Friday was ridiculous. We sold into that pop and we're already making money. What happened on Friday was ridiculous. So trade issues. If we don't get something done, the Chinese want to meet again before they sign this phase one agreement, right? So what happened on Friday was nothing more than what's happened before. The Chinese agreed to buy some more, buy a soybean or two here and there, and the president, isn't going to sanction Huawei. I've heard this. What are we on round? What is it? Round 14, 15 of these talks? Sell it. Sold the bear call spread on China today. We're printing money on it. The Fed, ladies and gentlemen, we have a Fed meeting coming up, next Wednesday. What's the Fed going to do? We've had some mixed but mostly good macroeconomic data. Why is the Fed going to cut rates again? Well, because President Trump's beating the hell out of them. President Trump speaks more highly of the cream of some young guy, dear leader in North Korea, and Xi Jinping than he does his own Fed chief. So what's the Fed going to do? They're going to cut rates again? They're going to stand pat? They doing this QE4 or whatever it is, the not QE4? A lot of potential volatility around what the Fed's going to do or not going to do. And Iran. I predicted Friday, 2 weeks ago, I said by October 11th, Iran's going to do another military action. Excellent authority, good intelligence sources. What happened on Friday? One of their, allegedly, well, I'll tell you exactly what happened. Friday, Iran said, hey, man, one of our oil tankers near Saudi Arabia was hit by 2 missiles. Did anybody hear about this ever since? No. You know who did this? The Iranians. This is literally a false flag attack. Other people have been saying the drone shoot down and the other stuff is, the CIA and all the war hawks. No, folks, this was actually Iran. In Q4, listen to me, in Q4, Iran will have a massive military action against Saudi Arabia, and it will potentially be a black swan event for this market. You can take that to the bank. Every time, I don't think it's in my slides. Last time, the president, I was off by about 6 hours. I told my coaching clients, it was when Assad used the chemical weapons, and the president, I told my coaching clients, I said, within the next 24 hours, he's going to launch missiles. And I was off by about 6 hours. Everybody remember that? Most of the military stuff that I've predicted happens. And if it doesn't happen, I'm actually happy it doesn't happen. I'm going to tell you, when was it? The fall of 2 years ago. We got way long volatility, short the market. You know why? Because we had 3, you ready for this? 3 CSGs. You know what's coming out in a couple weeks? Midway. Can't wait to see that movie. We had 3 carrier strike groups off of North Korea. The largest amount of U.S. naval forces in the Pacific since the Battle of Midway. In October, we were going to strike. I knew the commanding officers of all 3 of the aircraft carriers, and I knew a couple of the CAGs, the commander of the air groups. Drank with, It's funny when I see buddies that are like commanding officers of carriers now. I'm like, that dude's an idiot, man. He's like me. I guess he's not though. But that's a perfect example, folks, of when there are sometimes when I'll tell my member stuff, and I'm like, I want to be wrong. We were going to attack, I know for a fact, until the president, more or less, we had joint strike fighters, we had global hawks orbiting North Korea, and I think he literally sent the guy a picture with like a cursor on his forehead saying, I'm not going to kill 25 North Koreans, I'm going to kill you. And he came to the table. So, and then the last thing for a volatile Q4 are earnings. Now, earnings aren't looking that good, man. This trade war is starting to grudge on here, and it seems like all the earnings for the past 19 months that we've been in this trade war getting softer. Now, there's been a lot of pre-warnings, right? The famous Wall Streetism that I use is if you can't hit the ball over the net, lower the net. So Wall Street, what's it do? Hey, go out and tell them that our earnings are going to be awful. And then when they come out like a little horrific but not awful, the stock goes up. It's like, wait a minute. So don't want to delve too much more into this stuff. All this week, I'm going to be hitting each one of these topics, and I'm going to be covering actionable trades to make some money off of this stuff. Okay? All right. So here's what I want to do now. This is kind of note-taking time, and sit up in your chair if you've been clubbing mentally in the Bahamas. Let's figure out, how do we do this? A lot of people say, hey, Whiz, how do you find these trades? How do you come up with your trade ideas? It ain't rocket surgery, okay? So write this down. This is good stuff right here. Just ask me. You bet. A couple folks, yeah, you have access all week, folks. I forgot to say that. My marketing team did a little counter espionage or intelligence gathering. There's a really, you don't even have any competitors, to be honest with you, and that's not being overly confident. It's the truth, but people charge for like $495 for like what I give away for free. That's the best way to. I just opened up the door, so you're going to be joining me this week with hundreds of with literally members. You're going to be joining me in actual live trade briefs. This isn't death by PowerPoint all week. You're going to be in live trade briefs, folks, with current members. So yeah, you bet, you get access all week. All right, so write this down. You ready? FMT. Find the trade idea. I'm going to show you how I do it. Manage the trade, manage the risk. I'm going to teach you this week that I have what are called SOPs, standard operating procedures. I don't want to risk more than this on any one trade. I'm going to take profits at this. We are disciplined, man. Absolutely disciplined. And then we're going to target get out of a trade for max profit or minimum loss, FMT. So let's dig into these. The first thing we're going to do is find there's what, 2,500 or I think even by now 3,000 optionable stocks and ETFs out there, man. It is a zoo. Well, no, it isn't. Not really. Here's how we trade here at Top Gun Options. Nobody else out there trades like this. SOT. Strategic, operational, tactical. What do I mean by this? The average retail trader, most of the hundreds of folks in here tonight, this morning, this afternoon, you're tactical. You wake up, put on your bunny slippers, take a drag of coffee, and I don't know, turn on CNBC or Fox Business News, and all right, that dude's wearing a nice suit and he likes that stock. All right, I'm going to get into that. And a week later, you're broke. Absolutely not, folks. Or, you're in something and all of a sudden something happens around the globe and, your portfolio's cut in half. You're like, I didn't know any of that stuff was going on. That's because you're a tactical trader. Here at Top Gun Options, in our briefs tomorrow, I'm going to give about a 10 to 15 minute strategic brief. Pretend this week you're an admiral or a general and I'm on your staff and I'm coming in to give you your brief. You have to know what's going on around the globe economically, politically, and militarily. Let me give you an example in each one of those verticals. Economically, 2015, man. The years are running together here. Anybody remember the little thing known as the Greek debt crisis? Remember waking up one day and your 401k was a 201k? We made $35,000 in a month just trading volatility around the Greek debt crisis. Remember that? One day it was, okay, the Greeks voted to, do all these, austerity measures next day. And they said they're not going to do it. Now they're getting thrown out of the EU. No, they're going to every other day. Remember that? It was like up, down, up, down. It was fantastic. Absolutely loved the Greek debt crisis. But if you were a tactical trader, you didn't know that was about to happen or happened, or you found out about it too late. So that's economically. What about politically? I got this wrong. The Brexit. I thought they'd stay. Little did I completely forgot about this. Barack Hussein Obama, before the vote, like 2 weeks before the vote, I think it was, he flew over to England and kind of gave the old, hey man, you guys better vote to stay, because I don't, I think he looked at his watch too. He's like, I don't got time to do my, our own trade deal here. You don't fly to Great Britain and put your finger in the Brits' chest and tell them to do something, because they'll do the exact. So why am I rambling about this? Because I got the Brexit wrong, but we made 22 grand trading volatility, right? Going into the vote, volatility went up. And then once, you ready for this blinding piece of brilliance? When something's known, it's known. Once they cast the vote, well, it was bad news. It doesn't matter. Volatility, uncertainty went up. Going into the vote, hey, they're leaving. And volatility smashed. We made 11 grand up and 11 grand down. I love being wrong and making money. Finally, militarily. Does everybody remember what happened to the market when Vladimir Putin invaded Crimea or Eastern Ukraine or shot down a civilian airliner? Does anybody remember a couple months ago, 2 months ago, when Iran seized a British tanker? You have to know that these things are going on, folks, because it impacts your portfolio. So after about it just depends on what's going on in the world. I don't know, 10 to 15 minute brief. We peel the onion and go one layer deep, and we get operational and then cover what's going on here in the United States domestically. What's going on? Retail earnings this week. We got some Chicago PMI, non-manufacturing. What's the jobs numbers look at? What's going on politically? You have to look at all of this stuff at the operational level here in the United States. What's going on with earnings? What's going on with the Fed? Is Jerome Powell speaking this week? All the operational issues. Then, ladies and gentlemen, and only then, can we get tactical and trade. Doesn't this make sense? If you're not doing it, if many of you are just down here and you're missing all of this, you're missing what in aviation we call SA, situational awareness, knowing where you are in relation to others in time, space, right? So our methodology, each one of these verticals, we trade all the way out into the future. We trade the front months, we hedge, and we also trade weekly options. I'm going to show you all these services this week. Now, the rest of the time together, this is what we're going to dig into, folks. Our 7-step trade plan. This is what's cool, man. This was literally honed over the skies of Iraq and, made Wall Street-ish. Take a screenshot of this. Did everybody download the PDF? Give me a vertical head nod. Over there on the right, it says handouts. You can get that. I want you to follow along because this is, again, my marketing guy always tells me the same thing. Whiz, full throttle week, you give way too much stuff away. But that's you put the ladder down, right? It's funny. People are like, why do you do this? I'm like, I already got mine, right? That's one of the reasons I left Wall Street. People would step over their own mother for $1. That's not me. It wasn't the way I was raised, not the way you are in the military. When you make it in the military, so to speak, or my parents taught me, you put the ladder down, man. You help others. I love to be an instructor. I love doing this stuff. I got mine, and I'm trying to help. Why am I rambling about this? Because many of you that I bump into around the world, if you're not a TGO member, I heard this guy speak. He said, I need a trade plan. And then when I asked them for it, they kind of all walk away. Isn't that the truth? How many of these presenters like me do you hear on these things go, you really need a disciplined trade plan? And then they, hey, look over here, shiny red ball. And then they never share theirs because they don't have one. This is the 7-step trade plan I'm going to use for each trade throughout the week. Now, I might not formally go through each one of these steps, but the flow is exactly, if I stopped and said, okay, now we're number 3, trust me, it fits perfectly. I've been doing this for that long where it's like breathing. So we're going to go through this. Step 1, you have to determine your strategic mindset. After that, you can identify the target, the stock, the ETF, the index you want to trade. Then we're going to talk about commit criteria, the tactic we're going to employ. Now drop this right here, folks. Don't ever, even if you don't become a member, don't ever use this term again. Option strategy. There is no such thing as an option strategy. All right, man, you had me up into this point, Wiz. I'm going to bolt. Well, you're going to miss out. Well, my bearish verticals are my favorite strategy. You're wrong. No, you don't know me. That's my favorite. No, the wording is wrong. You know what a strategy is, folks? It's high level. It's 100,000 feet. It's 50,000 feet. A strategy that we're talking about would be saving for college, short-term income generation, managing risk, buying a boat for the summer. Those are strategies. You know what supports a strategy? A tactic. And I absolutely will take personal credit for within a 4-block radius of that Board of Trade building, people started changing the terminology to tactics. That's me, folks. Tactical employment is how are we going to manage this trade with mid-course guidance? And then our Colin Powell step, when are we getting out? Before I ever get into a trade, I know when I'm getting out of it. Top of the slide, folks. Discipline and risk management equal superior execution. Now let's dig into this. Step one in this trade plan that we're going to use the rest of the week in these free briefs is to determine your strategic mindset. There's 4 of them. You can be bullish, meaning, hey man, I think things are going to go up. You can be bearish, things are going to go down. You can be volatile, right? Welcome to the third quarter and welcome to the fourth quarter. Or you can market neutral. We're just going to kind of chop sideways. And there can be variations of that, right? Let's take a look at this. Look at the S&P 500 from back to May. Holy shnikes. Can you say holy volatile, Batman? Look at that. The market does not like living between these two moving averages. This is the S&P 500. There's a 50-day moving average, 200. It is a massive ugliness underneath these moving averages. And each one of these things has faded. So, but you can have variations. Here, I was volatile to bearish. And we've been, I'll show you in each one of the briefs, I'm going to show you that actual portfolio's performance. And I can't stand using this terminology, but I will use it. We've been printing money with this volatility. Now, let me ask you guys, let's fire up a poll here. You ready? What are you? And then I'll tell you what mine is. What is your, you ready? Here we go. What is your short-term, let's go Q4. What is your short-term strategic mindset? Go. And I need some Jeopardy music. Short-term strategic mindset between now and my birthday. Subtle hint, December 31st. So between now and the end of the year. All right, a couple more seconds. Looks like about half of you have voted. Are you bullish? Are you bearish? Do you think we're just going to whipsaw all over the place? Or are you think we're going to chop sideways? About 10 more seconds, and then we will close it out. Go ahead and vote on your screen, folks. Don't, if you're typing in the chat box, I have to say it. So, yeah, right. All of them. Yeah, exactly. All right, here we go. All right, 72% of you guys voted. Everybody else, what's that? 20% are sleeping, apparently. Wake up. So here we go. Let me share the results. You got it. This is what I would, that's perfect. 61% of you are volatile, saying we're going to be all over the place. 22% bearish. Interesting. Well, I mean, that's kind of a small amount, but 12% bullish, man. But somebody just said in the chat box, I'm all of them, which is kind of a, yeah, I kind of agree with that. But right now, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to, you can cut and paste what we did in August and drop it right in here to October. And we're having a blast. It's a month, not even half over yet. And we're doing way better than we did in this nastiness. I love these. This is awesome for options traders, right? If it's more volatile, options premiums are more expensive. All right. So step one, before you do anything, what is your high level strategic mindset? And now we can move on and identify the target that we want to trade, the stock, the ETF, or the index. Now, here's a disclaimer. I am not your tax accountant, I'm not your tax attorney, and I don't play one on TV. Do me a favor and write this down. If there is an index, trade the index over the ETF, right? The Russell, the RUT, there's an IWM ETF, but the RUT, I would trade. Why? There potentially is better tax treatment trading an index over an ETF. And for many of you, if you caught what I just said, I just paid for about a 3-year annual membership with that little bit of a tax tip. You bet, Mary, I'll say it again. If there's an ETF that also has an index, for example, I don't trade SPY, I trade SPX. Why? I get better tax treatment trading an index over an ETF. Don't have time to go into it. I am going to, you're welcome. Write that down, Google it, talk offline. When you become a member, we have an online forum. I call it the Ready Room, where we have this nice debate. Ton of intelligence in the Ready Room, but that is a great deal. Trade an index over an ETF. All right, so step two, identify the target that we want to trade. Step 3 is the most important step in the trade plan process and is often the worst step that retail traders do. Commit criteria. Why am I committing capital to this trade? Now, I think I keep Staples and Office Depot in business. I still keep I have like a leather, I write my trade plan out. You know why? There's something about going from brain to un stilo, pen, to paper. I physically write down why I am committing capital to this trade. This is 3 to 5 sentences, right? This is taken from fighter aviation. Why am I committing my F-18 Hornet to these bad guys over here? Well, boom, 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 boom. 3 to 5 sentences, 3 to 5 sentences of why you're committing cap. I call this the cocktail party pitch, or the elevator pitch, right? Anybody in sales, if we got in the elevator on the 30th floor by the lobby, I better be looking at you like, why am I not in that trade? That's brilliant. So I call it the cocktail party pitch. Did a bear call spread today on China because the euphoria from Friday is already out of it. Today, the Chinese said they want to have another meeting before they even sign the phase 1. And Secretary Mnuchin said the president would increase tariffs in December if there is no progress. Bear call spread out to Friday on FXI. Boom. Drop the mic. Here's the second most important part of this step. When any of those sentences changes, close the trade. This is this, folks. I bumped into so many of you on the road. I'm in this trade. It's going against me, but it's going to come back. Yay me! What? Are you insane? The side of mountains and the bottom of oceans are littered with jets and aviators who tried to push it. Stick to your commit criteria. If you look in your trade journal and it said these were the 4 sentences as to why I got in this trade, and what happened today? Yeah, 2 of those sentences are get out of the trade. It should not be emotional. This is why we have a checklist. It should be very antiseptic. Well, one of those sentences is gone. I got to get out of this trade. I got to eject. There's always pilot and command moments where you can take control and maybe stay in it. And I'm going to brief you on that in a couple seconds. All right. So after we come up with our commit criteria, now we can pick the tactic that we're going to use. I think there's 32, 33 options tactics you can do. I use about 7, man, and rarely more than that. And it's not a strategy, right? So I'm going to teach you this week a bunch of various different tactics. If you kind of know what a call is and kind of know what a put is, you're going to be fine. No tactics that I use here at Top Gun Options are complex. This isn't, we don't do stuff to impress people. Like I'm doing a reverse iron condor with a butterfly twist, inverted, negative 5G pull. I don't know. I made all that stuff up. But sometimes people make it a hell of a lot more complicated than it is. Like I said, I built this kind of for me. I built Top Gun Options. If I had this when I was teaching myself, literally driving to the base library to get, Macmillan on options type of stuff, I'd be Gordon Gekko here. So step 4 is the tactic. It's the trade. It's the bull put spread, an iron condor, a diagonal. If you don't know what any of those things are, don't worry about it. You get access to about 16 hours of, I'm going to spend an hour and a half doing bull put spreads at night with a bottle of wine with all you folks. We talk these things. We do it after the market closes. It's awesome. Okay. Tactical employment. Now that we picked the tactic, let's talk. This is the trade details. These are the individual legs of the trade, what the range from mid-market, all that stuff. So this is how we're going to put the trade on. And then step 6, mid-course guidance. Ladies and gentlemen, I never dropped a bomb in anger or fired a trade and closed my eyes and said, man, I hope that bomb hits bad people, or I hope this trade makes money. Hope ain't a strategy, man. Before we ever place a trade, we talk about what could go wrong during the lifetime of this trade that we can figure out right now. Ladies and gentlemen, the time for me to figure out what I'm going to do if I get shot at by a missile over Syria is not when I get shot at by a missile over Syria. That I already made that decision, man. Sitting in the air conditioning, sipping on my venti upside down caramel macchiato. This is the other reason we call these briefs, folks. We talk about everything that potentially could go wrong during the trade before you get in it. And I'm going to teach you this week that we have an SOP. When am I going to get out for max profit? When am I going to get out for min loss? Okay, but these are not hard and fast. This is the F-18 flight manual. It's about the size of a phone book. All the emergency procedures. Unfortunately, we say that this is written in blood. Why? Because it is. Somebody did something wrong. The jet screwed us, whatever, and now we got to pursue. Oh, geez. Okay, hey, man, add that to the manual. But the first page of every Navy flight manual says that something like this. Nothing in this manual takes the place of good headwork and judgment of the pilot in command. Translation, you can break these rules. It better work out for you. Why am I bringing this up? Because there are some times when during the life of a trade, oh man, this thing's losing money. It's at my eject point. I'm going to stay with it. I'm putting the cigar in my mouth, opening the canopy and sticking my white scarf out. Why? Commit criteria. There's sometimes during the life of a trade where, hey man, this thing's losing money. I'm like, why did we get into it? Look at step 3. Oh yeah. So there are times when it might be at the eject point, and I say, I'm with it. And I think last time I crunched the numbers, I think I bet about a 68 to 70% success rate of doing that. Okay, that's the other reason you're here, folks. Is I'm giving you all my lessons learned, man. I blazed a trail down this path. Stand on my shoulders so you don't have to relearn or learn what I've done. Step 7, the last step of our trade plan. When are we getting out of this? It's the Colin Powell rule, man. This guy, not a big fan of him now, but in the past, when he was chairman of the Joint Chiefs, George Bush the first went to him and said, "Hey, man, need you to get Iraq out of Kuwait." "Yes, sir." "Okay, whoa, hold on, Mr. President, before you leave. When are we leaving?" Declare victory. What is it? Right? Okay, well, when we get them out of Kuwait, boom. Remember what happened in Operation Desert Storm? The Iraqis were fleeing, and it was actually the A-10 guy. It was called the Highway of Death, man, out of Basra. It was getting ugly, and we stopped. Now, revisionist historians are like, "Oh, we should have went to Baghdad." No. Remember that 30, 40 nation coalition? If we had steamed into Baghdad then, all the countries over there joined us like, "Well, we knew it. You lied to us." So this is the Colin Powell step. When you hit your profit objective in the trade, get out. How many of you, if you're familiar with credit spreads, how many of you have been up, let's say 90% in a trade? It's got a couple days left. I'm just going to let it expire worth. And boom, you wake up, you turned a 90% winning trade into a 100% loss. You don't have to answer because I've done it and I don't. Guilty. Never, of course. Exactly. Same thing. When you hit your max acceptable loss, do it. Right? So, yeah. Oh, well, we're going to talk about our SOP, man. I'm going to give you my SOP for credit spreads. It's 7, 8, 9, man. If I'm looking at a 70, 80, or 90% profit on the credit that I take in, I get out of the trade. So I don't want to muddy the waters too much tonight with the SOP, but the lesson learned I want you to take from this is do it. Be disciplined enough, man. It hit this, time to get out. Always remember, like I said, though, that there's there's that bullet point that says, you can blow off the procedures. You better have a good reason. Okay, that's the discipline I'm going to teach you this week. All right, so that's kind of step 1, finding the trade. I gave you my SOT, strategic, operational, tactical, right? And then our 7-step trade plan. So that was find the entry, right? We're going to take a look this week at the fundamentals of stuff. We're going to take a look at volatility, and we're going to take a look at a little bit of technical analysis. Technical analysis, I don't want to offend people. If you wasted any money on a technical analysis course, go get it back. No broker I know lets you trade off the left side of a chart. Okay, period. We used to burn witches too. So technical analysis, there's, a little support resistance type of stuff that we can, that's kind of good. But other than that, you can keep it. FMT, find, manage, target. Okay, so let's talk about managing risk. Take a look at that picture. That's a Canadian F-18 Hornet. That picture was taken moments before this jet flew into the ground. This young flight lieutenant was doing an air show practice. He was at 200 feet, demonstrating the slow speed handling characteristics of the CF-18 Hornet when one of his engines failed. You can see which one failed right there. In the blink of an eye, I think they did the math. If he had waited a half a second longer, he would have ejected into the ground. But he didn't. That's him. There's the ejection seat. There's the aircraft. Oh, geez, there's the ejection seat. Look at that. He was flying a couple months later. Let me ask you guys a question. When did this flight lieutenant make the decision to get out of this airplane? Let me see your answers. When did this guy decide to eject out of that airplane? Let me see some of the answers. Eric got it. Good, a lot of you. A couple wrong answers. Nope. Dutch, you got it. Yep. Elaine, you got it. Ladies and gentlemen, this pilot made the decision to get out of this aircraft in the brief. Before he ever got in the airplane, he knew exactly when he was going to get out. Right? He sat there, and when in the brief, going through his maneuvers, all right, boom, boom, boom. If I have an engine failure here, or especially the low, it's called the high alpha low speed pass, right? His nose was parked up almost straight in the air. If you were on the runway underneath him in your car, you could have gone faster than him. He was doing about 85 knots. But soon as that engine went, he pulled, and he lived. So ladies and gentlemen, what am I getting at? Before you get into a trade, we're going to talk about managing risk management. Who manages you? You're going to hear me use this term a lot. You're the PIC, man. You're the pilot and your commander of your portfolio, not me. I can't give you investment advice. What you're going to do this week is get to eavesdrop, essentially, on what I'm doing. Can't tell you what to do. What you do on your side of your computer and your bunny slippers is your own business. But I'm going to teach you how I manage risk, right? I'm going to give you my SOP, my trading SOP, and that's written in blood. I've made these mistakes, folks. Trust me. My SOP is almost airtight. So risk management in your trading this week. The first thing that we ask whenever I place a trade this week is, how much can I lose? Well, that's boring, Whiz. How much can I make in this trade? No. Do not ever look at a trade and go, hey, man, look at this. It can make this stop. Whether you're a fighter pilot or an options trader, the first thing you ask is, how am I going to get killed on this mission? What's my max potential loss? First rule of investing, don't lose money. What's the second rule? See the first rule. It is all about managing risk. Making money consistently. I don't like I don't like these huge swing ups and downs. Oh my God, we're making a lot of money. Oh no. Making money consistently, managing risk. So I'm going to blow through these real quick because I want to stay on timeline. I'm going to do this live this week. I'm going to show you my SOP for a credit spread. If you have a $50,000 portfolio, max risk, maybe $5,000 per trade, maybe $2,500. Like, I'm going to show you what mine is based on a $100,000 portfolio tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. But you have to look at what your risk tolerance is. It drives me nuts when I talk to somebody. Oh, I'm in this trade, Whiz. I trade too. Okay. Yeah, I'm in this Apple trade. How much can you lose? And people look at me like it's rude. Like I always hit people with that. You know, they're like, "Oh, yeah, I got this great trade on." I'm like, "Well, how much can you lose?" It's kind of rude. It can make this much. Then you're going to flame out. You have got to shift your mindset. It's funny, you know, people think I'm like Eeyore, but that's not the case. We plan for everything to go wrong, so when it doesn't, we're pleasantly surprised and we're happy. If you go into trading thinking it's all sunshine and lollipops and you're never gonna have a losing trade, I'm surprised you're even here on a computer. They probably repossessed everything. Okay. We'll talk about scaling that in, guys. We'll talk about $15,000 account and stuff like that. You'll scale your trades, and we'll cover that live this week. All right, step 3. Remember, it was 3 steps: find, manage, target. So now we target. Step 3 essentially is target for max loss. Like I said, do not turn a 70, 80, 90% winning trade into a 100% loss. I've done it. Okay. We don't want to do that. Pigs get slaughtered. We want to do the Stephen Miller Band, right? Go on, take the money and run. I've been doing this for 27 years, folks. Nobody I know has gone broke taking a profit, right? Nobody I know has gone broke taking a profit. Just as true as it was day one, okay? So that's definitely not what we're going to do. So we're going to talk about all this stuff this week. Let me take a look at my notes, make sure I got everything. So that's, oh, good. We're ahead of schedule here. So that's what we're doing. Somebody just asked about the schedule. Let me bring that up. So tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock, we're going to be in the primary live trade brief. And tomorrow, here's a little bit of homework. I want you to look at a couple things. Let me bring up my trade account here. I want you to look at volatility. The VIX, the volatility index, and you can ditch the word volatility unless you're at a cocktail party and want to sound smart. Call it the uncertainty index. Let me bring this up. We're going to talk about getting long volatility tomorrow. Let's take a look at this. So I want you to take a look at the VIX, the volatility index. Look at this. Right here, ladies and gentlemen, back in July, I told my members, we have got to get long volatility. It's been way too quiet, boom. About half a week later, the VIX was up with this at 105%. Right here, this was a Thursday night full throttle training session, and I said, we have got to get long volatility again, and the VIX was up 60%. Does anybody see with this volatility index what it looks like? It's a heart rate monitor, folks. It goes up, and the VIX is not a stock, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't like, hey, going up and making money, a little bit of a pullback and up. No, it does not do that. The VIX, the uncertainty index, reverts to its mean. So, whoa, freak out. Okay, everything's fine. Nope, no, it's not. Yes, it is. Everything's great. No, it isn't. And no, everything really is great. Great. Nothing could ever go wrong. And boom. What happens? It returns to this is kind of like the Brexit example. Like, what are they going to vote to do? And once something's known, it's known. But let me clear all this stuff off here. Check this out. Does anybody see where the volatility index is? Look at this, down 6.5% today. What are we getting? Whoa, hang on. Let's take a look at a 1-year chart. Look at this. We're almost getting back down to where we were in September. I'm not going to bring that other slide back up, but folks, what did I just tell you about October, man? Fed meeting, Iran, China buffoonery, Hong Kong, folks. Every week, what happened today? What's her name? Carrie Lam, the chief executive of Hong Kong, said she used the magic word. She's like, because somebody lit off an IED near a police station. They said these could be considered, or is it terrorists? They're using the language that says essentially we're going to steamroll in here. 2 weeks ago, I reported that the Chinese military had doubled the forces in Shenzhen. They're like at a soccer stadium. They are ready to roll in here. So we got Hong Kong, we have QE, we have earnings, we have all this stuff. So volatility being this low right now, folks, is stupid cheap. Look at this. we had this like week and a half here where everybody's like, everything's great. Me? I'm like, what are you, nuts? I ran everything I just rattled off, and then boom. So we're going to talk tomorrow. Your homework is to kind of take a look at the VIX and take a look at this, because we're going to get bullish on FX or VIX tomorrow and bearish on FXI. This is the iShares China large cap ETF. Look at this thing. It goes on. Hey, President tweeted we might get a trade deal. We might meet. And no, we're not. We're not doing anything. Here's Friday. We sold into this today. We're already up, what, $800 in the trade we did this afternoon. Sell into this. The FXI is going down. There's nothing. I don't want to steal my thunder from tomorrow. There's nothing going on. Look at this. China won Friday. Fantastic news. The president used the word tremendous or tremendously on Friday 15 times about this thing. That's when you know it was to sell into this thing. We are going to head back down to this 50-day moving average on the S&P 500 easily, if not bust through it with some serious airspeed. But this is a no-brainer here. There is really nothing going on with China trade talks. This thing is way too high. And by the way, China came out with some trade numbers today. China's U.S. exports tumble as tariffs bite. Shipments to the U.S. slumped 22% in September. Overall exports down 3.2%. Bearish on FXI. Natalia, this is in our weekly options brief today, we did a bear call spread. I'm going to cover weekly options on Friday with you guys. This afternoon was a members only brief for my weekly options members, but we currently have a bearish spread on FXI. So we're going to talk about the VIX tomorrow. We're going to talk FXI tomorrow, and probably the S&P 500 as well. Maybe put a trade on SPX. Yeah, Mary, it depends on how your broker categorizes it and your tax person. And it's a separate discussion, but if you're maybe a little bit of an active trader, you can think about maybe trading through an LLC. It's a great idea. I'm not going to. I don't want to get too far off tangent there, but yeah, that's a little bit of the advice from Uncle Whiz there. It's definitely hooked me up. Steve, low VIX, quiet before the storm. Absolutely could not agree more. Write this down. This is a Whizism. And even if you don't become a TGO member, remember this. I'm going to give you a lot for free this week. Hopefully you just take it forward. When volatility is cheap, you buy it. When it's expensive, you sell it. So anytime the VIX has gotten up to these levels, what do? I get bearish on volatility. What happens when it is down here? I get bullish on volatility, right? James, the exact opposite. You're inverted. I thought you said trade SPY versus SPX. I said trade SPX versus SPY. So trade the index. Always trade the index, not the ETF. Okay. Dawn, trading platforms. I have an RH account just looking for SPX. There's different. What's RH, Dawn? I'm not. Robinhood. I don't know, Dawn. I use E-Trade. This used to be Options House. I helped build this thing, so this is my baby right here. So I don't know. Some Dawn, you got to put like some platforms. You have to put like a $sign in front of it or something like that. I don't know. You might want to call customer support. So, E-Trade or Thinkorswim. Eric, I'm a E-Trade guy. I love this platform. You're going to see it throughout the week. You can actually, what is it? etrade.com/topgun, and they'll hook you up with the TGO rate. So I just put that in the chat box, guys. You can trade with whoever you want. If you're going to learn to fly and fight, a fighter jet, you probably should be flying the same jet as your instructor. But no, I mean, with the commission war, it's a race to the bottom. I think everybody's going to zero. So, the allure of Robinhoods and all the really other cheap ones have kind of gone away. Schwab, fired the initial shot across the bow a couple weeks ago. So now, TD Ameritrade, all these guys are going to zero. So, Customer support in Robinhood, might as well look for Robinhood himself. Is it that bad, Steve? So, but yeah, no, folks, I personally, is there any, I forgot to ask this at the beginning. Is there any vets or active duty reservists or first responders in here? The reason I ask is because Trade Station allows you to trade commission free, almost commission free. So if you're a vet or a first responder, you get a great deal with those guys, because a lot of good, man. Steve, police chaplain. Eric, C-130 crew chief. Awesome, man. Thanks for your account. Yeah, Richard uses Trade Station for that reason. Damien, been using Thinkorswim. Bob, Air Force vet. Awesome. Eric, we have exactly me finishing this sentence almost. So, folks, all the vets, first of all, guys and gals, thanks for all your service, fellow service folks. So there's an Uncle Whiz tip, too. Trade Station, give them a call. Tell them you're a vet, active duty reservist, or first responder, cop, fireman, ambulance squad, and they will hook you up. Okay, so there you go, man. See, we didn't even really start Full Throttle Week yet, and I've given, look at the value, man. And wait, there's more. So, all right, nope, I'm not even going to take the hour and 15 minutes. I'm gonna reserve. What is it in Congress? I'm going to revise and extend my remarks and reclaim my time. Learned good things tonight. Thanks. You bet, Mike. Man, we haven't even started, so this is hopefully the value that you see tonight. Welcome aboard. Checklist, find, manage, target, the 7 steps. Print that out. Tomorrow, we're going to look at volatility. We're going to look at China, and we're going to look at the S&P 500. Wednesday, we're going to look at longer dated trades. We're going to look, it's the accelerated retirement program. Before this last quarter, this was AR was my best. The conservative portfolio was beating my other ones. Now it's flopped. The more tactical one, we're printing money, man. We did over $100,000, triple digits in the third quarter, man. It was lights out trading. 9 p.m. Wednesday night, glass of wine. We're going to do some sample training of what you'd get when you become a member. We'll do a weekly debrief on Thursday, and then Friday I'll kind of we'll wrap it up. If there's any slots left, I'll open it up to folks who want to kind of kick the tires a little bit and try it month to month, and then you can always upgrade for the to the annual. You bet, man. This is recorded. I will show you where to watch the replay. Go.topgunoptions.com/FT replay. Everything is going to be on this page. When we get done. So let me put this in the chat box. So yeah, you bet. So, all right, folks, I'm going to go hang out with the kids and definitely not watch Monday Night Football. Go see if some hockey's on. So looking forward to a great week. It's going to be fun. Have a great rest of your night. Happy hunting. Make sure you hedge. God bless, guys, and I'll see many of you tomorrow at 1 o'clock. If you can't make it, watch the replay, okay? So thanks for coming, guys, and welcome aboard. I'll see you guys tomorrow. God bless.